It began as an ordinary evening, the kind of night where the air hangs thick with stillness and the trees sway without making a sound. I was driving through the countryside, far from the nearest town, the road stretching endlessly beneath the dim glow of my headlights. The clock on the dashboard blinked past midnight, and I told myself I would find a place to stop soon, maybe a motel with a flickering sign, the kind that looks half abandoned but offers enough comfort for one restless night. Yet no matter how far I drove, the road never seemed to change. The same trees, the same cracked asphalt, the same lonely silence pressing against the glass. I tried the radio, but every station hissed with static, voices whispering faintly through the noise as though someone on the other end knew I was listening. The deeper I went, the more unnatural the landscape began to feel. The stars above looked wrong, too many of them, clustered into patterns I couldn't recognize. The moon seemed lower, heavy, almost swollen, casting a pale light that made the forest shimmer with shadows. That was when I noticed the first sign. It stood crooked at the edge of the road, its letters faded but still readable. "Welcome to Ashridge." I slowed down, frowning because I had never heard of Ashridge before, and I had studied the map earlier. There was no town listed by that name anywhere near this route. Still, I kept driving. The road carried me into a small clearing where buildings huddled together in the dark. Houses with sagging roofs, windows boarded from the inside, and narrow streets empty of life. The only sound was the hum of my engine, echoing louder than it should have. As I passed, I thought I saw movement, shadows darting between doorways, pale faces half hidden behind curtains. But whenever I turned my head, nothing remained. The town seemed alive, but with something that didn't want to be seen directly. My fuel gauge blinked low, and I knew I had no choice but to stop. I parked near what looked like a gas station, its signs swinging in the wind though there was no wind at all. The pumps were rusted, the glass cracked, but a faint light glowed from within the shop. I stepped inside and was greeted with the smell of dust and rot. Shelves lined with outdated cans, some labels peeled away, others displaying brands I had never heard of. Behind the counter stood a man, or what seemed like a man. His skin was pale, his eyes too large, and his smile stretched too wide as if his face was made of wax. He didn't speak, but raised one hand slowly and pointed at me. The lights flickered. I backed out, my chest tightening, and hurried into my car. I turned the key, but the engine sputtered before dying. Panic surged. The streets around me were no longer empty. Figures emerged from the houses, their movements slow, deliberate, their faces blurred like old photographs. They gathered, circling the car, watching in silence. I locked the doors and pressed my back against the seat, my hands trembling on the wheel. Then a knock, soft at first on the driver's window. I forced myself to look. A child stood there, a little girl in a tattered dress, her eyes reflecting the glow of the moon. She mouthed something I couldn't hear over and over until I realized she was repeating one word: stay. I shook my head, whispering no, no, no. I tried the engine again. Nothing. The girl pressed her hand against the glass, and suddenly the world outside shifted. The town dissolved into endless forest, black trees twisting in every direction, their branches reaching like skeletal arms. The figures were gone, but now shapes moved between the trunks, tall and thin, their limbs bending unnaturally as they crawled closer. I stumbled out of the car, though every instinct screamed to stay inside. The forest smelled of damp soil and decay. The air pressed heavy against me, and then I realized the trees were not trees at all. They pulsed faintly, like veins beneath skin, and when I touched one in disbelief, it shuddered as if alive. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground, and the shapes drew nearer, their faceless heads turning toward me in perfect unison. I ran. Branches clawed at my arms, the earth soft and shifting beneath my feet, as though the forest itself wanted to swallow me whole. No matter how far I pushed, the road would not reappear. The humming grew louder, pressing into my skull, drowning my thoughts until it was all I could hear. Then, silence. I found myself standing in front of my car again, in the same clearing, as if I had never left. The door was open, the keys still in the ignition, the gas station glowing faintly behind me. The little girl stood by the passenger door this time. She smiled, revealing too many teeth, and whispered in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once, "You're already here." My legs refused to move. The world tilted, the stars above spinning into unfamiliar constellations, the moon swelling larger until it filled the entire sky. The girl's shadow stretched long across the ground, merging with mine, until I couldn't tell where she ended and I began. The last thing I heard before the darkness closed in was the sound of countless footsteps behind me, all drawing closer, all moving in rhythm with my heartbeat, as though they had been waiting for me all along.